Okay, what I'm going to show you today is a fairly simple kind of rudimentary process when it comes to photo editing, but actually something everyone should know, and even if you're kind of used to it, it's just worth refreshing. And what it basically is how to make a simple composite. Okay, how to put an image on top of another one, but not just that, but how to make it match the colouring of the background so that it actually looks like it was always there in the shot. I know it sounds simple, but it's just a few tweaks here and there using a couple of adjustments will just help everything gel and glue together so that it looks right. So here we go. Just from our blank screen here, we're just going to open our background. This is the first image. Both of these images I'm going to use. I've got linked there freely available on the internet from Unsplash and Pixabay, and the links are below in the description. So this is our background image. The first thing I'm going to do, as you can see, it's not really a level image, so I'm going to just click on the crop tool here, and there's a button here, quite a useful tool called straighten. There we go. And what you do, you find one end of our horizon. There we go. Just click the mouse and keep your finger on the button of the mouse, drag over to another part of the horizon, and there we go. As soon as we let go, it straightens it all up. There we go. So I'm just going to click enter. So with the crop tool now, now I could kind of fill in these missing gaps that it's created using kind of the autofill tool, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to speed up the process here. So all I'm going to do is just crop it in a bit. There we go. Click enter. Now the next thing, I'm just going to place another image on top. As you can see, you've already seen the image. It's a submarine image. There we go. This image is from Pixabay. There we go. Click open, and let's just position it. I'm just going to show you a couple of things here. So a lot of this thing, a lot of compositing is about knowing roughly where to position things so that they look the right size, and also they kind of got the right distance and aspect ratio. So you can see, obviously, if I make it that size and put it in the background there, it just looks completely out of proportion. It looks way too big for what it is. So I have practiced this already, so I pretty much know roughly where to position it, and it does kind of I'm just going to fill the screen there, so it does kind of work there. There we go. So I've got two images, as you can see over to the right here. I've got the submarine on top of the background. Now in my mind, the colour of this submarine doesn't really go with the colouring of the background. I feel it's a little bit underlit. And the kind of highlights and the contrast isn't quite as much as it could be. So and in with a different background, it could be perfectly right. As you can see, this is a bright the background was taken on a bright sunny day, no clouds in the sky, very little. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to use some adjustments. So here we go. Click on this. Wait, actually, you don't need to use the adjustments. Click on the submarine. Click on adjustments. Now you've got a whole load of options here. You've got your saturation and black and white posterize, all that kind of thing, but I'm just going to use a couple today. I'm going to use brightness and contrast. Click on that and just click default. There we go. Brightness and contrast is pretty much I use that fairly universally almost on every shot if I'm going to do a composite. In fact, even on just photos when I've just taken a photograph, just to get the kind of lighting right, or adjust the exposure if you like. There we go. So we've got that one, and the other one I'm going to select is the shadows and highlights. So I'm going to double click on that one and click on default. There we go. Now if we go back to layers, you'll see, there we go, go back to layers, it's put them there. Now if I change any of these, let's just go to shadows, make an adjustment. Now what it's actually doing, it's actually adjusting both the submarine and the background layer. There we go. That makes it much more evident. Okay. What I really want to do is just adjust the submarine layer. So the way I do that, I drag each of these down onto and hover over the submarine thumbnail. There we go. And I'm going to do it the brightness and contrast as well. Hover over the submarine, and now basically those two adjustments will only affect the submarine layer. So I'm going to go to brightness and contrast first. Let's have a look. Brightness and contrast. I actually feel it just needs to be a bit brighter. So even with a bit of brightness there, you can see how it starts to just fit in a bit better with the colour, with the brightness of the background. Bit of contrast. I'm going to change the contrast a bit. Now I'm not actually after something that looks totally real. I do like my images to look a little bit more dramatic, so I think we're slightly getting it there. These colours might be a bit more vivid than you might see in real life, although I'm not quite sure. This does look quite good. I'm going to go and address the shadows and highlights now. Double click on shadows and highlights. That brings up our user interface for that. Let's just tweak a couple of these around. There we go. I'm just darkening the shadows there a bit. There we go. And let's just try the yeah. And it depends what look you're going after, but you can see I'm going to increase the highlights there, and again I'm just going to, I quite like the darkening of the shadows. There we go. And it's always worth revisiting other ones. You'll make an adjustment to one adjustment, and then it's always worth revisiting the others as well, just to see if you can change any to improve the image. Even if you just put them back roughly where they were, it's kind of a reassuring. I think I'm going to go a bit higher on that one. There we go. I think I'm happy with that one now. And I could go back to shadows and highlights again, but to be honest, I think I'm happy. And there we go. So if I just turn those off now, and let's go back to our original image, I think there's a marked improvement from our original image just being laid on top there to our image that has actually been changed with the brightness and contrast and some shadows and highlights. This looks much more dramatic. And there we go. One thing to note with this image over the top, if I just remove our background, you'll see it's not just a submarine. It included, it's a PNG file, which means it's transparency. It included some shadows. Here we go. There's some shadowing there, some just subtle shadowing underneath there, and some shadowing there. Now that's, in my mind, that's the convincer, as well as lighting. That convinces you that belongs in the shot, rather than just plonked on top. It's everything's to do with lighting in photography and composition as well. You've got to make sure that these things are right and look right. So there we go. Thank you very much.